All right, and we're live. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I want to thank you all for joining me for the second session of the business workshop, building workshop. So, guys, today we're going to talk about, do I have a business or a job? Last week we just talked about what was a business, like what was the concept of a business, something that can duplicate itself, continue to grow without need for you to constantly be there, right? So what we're going to work on over the next few months here is figuring out how we take our daily job and turn it into tasks and turn it into different ways of getting other people to do what we need. So, again, I'm your host, Shawn Patrick Moloney, entrepreneur, own a real estate brokerage here in Pembroke. We're in Hanover, Massachusetts. I also run a thought consulting company where we do businesses, turnaround startups, all the basically different business entrepreneurship stuff. And then I also have two podcasts, Homeownership, which is about buying, selling, and owning houses, as well as Real Facts on Real Estate, which is really just about real estate training in general and getting people an understanding of how to succeed in real estate on every facet, not just agents like we are here at Momentum Realty, but also real estate attorneys, mortgage professionals, everything. My socials are right here. I'm going to share them again at the end, but if you could make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel or wherever you're watching. It really helps out with the algorithm. I appreciate that. Thank you guys. So let's get started here today. So let's first off talk about the differences between, Ryan, do you see that feedback comment on that? Are you getting that as well in the chat line, please? Okay, the difference between a business and a job. So let's talk about that there. Next up, moving this over in case it's the mic. So I just moved the mic around a little. You can say you have a blank if. So first off, let's start with business. You can say you have a business if you can say I have systems in place. I have a handbook. The business does not need me to operate. I trust other people's work. My phone rings with new business. And you can say you have a job if you say no one ever can do as good as me. I often say just do it this way. I think marketing is expensive. Without me, the place would shut down. Customers come here to see me. So one of the big things that's different between the two, right, is we have a business where it operates and functions by processes and systems, and we have a job which goes and functions by the key role person being there, the person who thinks they're the owner of a company, going there and being a manager. So they're actually doing management system type things where instead of running and working on the business, they're working in the business. And this is really risky, especially when you have that type A personality where you say, no one can do everything as good as me, or just do it this way. Because when you do that, you may not realize it, but oftentimes you're hurting people's feelings. Because remember, no one goes to work to fail. No one goes there and says, I can't wait to get to work today and screw up. They usually say, I want to get to work and show my boss that I really know what I'm doing. So setting people up for success is really how you get a business started, how you take those first steps and really just kind of grow that core foundation. All right, so slide 4. Congratulations. Now you know if you have a business or a job. So don't be offended no matter what, right? Now is the most important time in your life. It's time where you get to choose where to head next. Here are some questions you need to ask yourself. Should I turn this into a business? Should I get a high paying job running someone else's organization? Do I picture myself wearing every hat of an entrepreneur? What is my end goal? Should I just quit while I'm ahead? Or could I sell this business? So let's break them down one question at a time and just talk about them. So, should I turn this into a business? This is an important one. Um, this is a tough conversation here, guys. I'm not telling people to quit their lives, quit their jobs, but I'm saying that sometimes quit while you're ahead or quit while you're behind is the way out, right? So, if you have something that's bleeding you and everything, you should definitely reach out to someone like myself as a business consultant, sit down and talk and figure out, is it worth turning into a business or not? Because sometimes, guess what? You have an amazing thing there, you just don't know what you have. And other times you have something that maybe it's not that great, and maybe it's time to just move on, just head into the next thing. Because remember, fail forward, we always work forward. But learning whether you should turn it into a business or not, that's an important one. And a good coach, a good business consultant can really help you make those determinations. So checking out whether you should get into business or not, that's one of the first questions. And then, should I get a high paying job running someone else's organization? So this is good for those people who say to themselves, like one of the upcoming questions, wearing every hat. they say to themselves, you know what, I hate marketing, I hate sales, I hate HR. All I like doing is the actual physical work. Well, then you might want to work for somebody else, because the honest to God truth of entrepreneurship is we wear every single hat. We don't say, geez, I can't believe that there's trash and litter on the floor. We simply pick it up. We are the boss. We maybe go reprimand somebody who was in that key role of taking of the trash and everything, but we certainly aren't the type of people that step over things and walk around them. Same thing with sales and stuff. So when we have sick people, when we're first starting out and someone's sick, it means we got to do every single job. So maybe you should just get a high paying job. And guys, I know people like always make fun of different things. I'm gonna tell you what, you go to McDonald's, you bust your butt, you make the best French fry batches, then you make the best burgers, and then you make the fastest line times, and then you make sure the bathrooms are always clean, and then you work your way through the kitchen and you're the boss, and then the next thing you know, you're a district manager, regional manager, Northeast New England manager, and then the next thing you know, you are a C-level executive at McDonald's making tens of millions of dollars. So making fun of anybody for taking any route is really silly. And honestly, if you're working for $100,000 a year, working for yourself, but you're working 80 hours a week, that's just working two $50,000 a year jobs, which maybe it's great for you and congratulations. But I'm going to guess after you do all your taxes, you do everything, you're actually not making that much money. So understanding that sometimes it's easier to just go into business for somebody else if you're not exactly all in it. I'm not saying you shouldn't be all in it. I think people should love entrepreneurship. I personally love it, but I would say that they want to be careful about where they're headed, that they're headed in the direction that they want to head. Okay, so wearing every hat, we kind of put them both together in one. But what I really just mean by that is just when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have the ability a lot of times of having a huge back staff at first. You're there doing it yourself. And if you're not willing to wear every hat, like if I wasn't willing to go and write mailers and go and clean my office and go and wash my own truck or whatever it be, I'd run out of money. Because, one thing that I always talk about in world, right, is we all learn, like, say, the stock market. You can buy a stock and pray to God that it goes the way you want it to. And you can buy an educated fashion and think you know which way it's going. But in reality, anything that grows money is always risky. But there are certain things that grow money that aren't that risky. And one of them is sweat equity, the ability to take the hands and to do things. Because we can say, like a job, say, like paint might cost you 60, 80 bucks to paint a room, probably cost you two or 3,000 to have it painted. So you just invented $2,000 into your own account, right? So when you go to the store and you're going to buy plants and you're going to buy pots and you're going to put them in your business, yeah, it's nice to have big full ones day one, but sometimes, buying the one that costs a quarter of what the other one costs and waiting the time that it takes to grow is the proper way. And I think what this shows us, and nature always shows us, is slow growth is good growth. And I'm not saying that you need to grow slow and the idea of if you have massive rapid upward growth trend, but I'm saying you need to make sure you structure any growth to sustain itself and to continue on. Because even fast growth up, you can tip right over if you don't have a good base. So wearing every hat, very, very important. What's my end goal? So this is another really important one to know if you should stay in, go out, and why. Because end goal, right? So if you say to yourself, in 20 years from now, I'm going to retire and I need $5 million to retire. So you have 20 years to accrue $5 million. How are you going to do it? It looks like you save up somewhere around a million every fourth year, right? So 250,000 a year has to go away. But also you have to say to yourself, how much is my company going to be worth if my exit strategy is to sell it? So say that was a million of the value. That means every 5 years I have to put a million away because a million of the value is in selling it. But then I have to say to myself, if that's my end goal, how do I make the business worth $1 million in value? So you have to start doing the math earlier in your business transactions, even when it seems silly, even when you're just one person sitting alone by yourself in the house, daydreaming about your future business. It's important to think about end goals because if you know where you're headed, it's easy to know if you're headed there, and it's easy to build micro goals. We'll go over all that in the future, but just knowing how to build those micro goals as we go. And then, should I just quit while I'm ahead? That's a question you need to ask yourself. It's one of those things where you have to say to yourself, am I the type of person that when, my building floods, I get in there knee deep and I figure out how to deal with a flood? Am I the type of person who does not get angry When the world doesn't go exactly as I planned, I learn from my mistakes. I learn to fail forward. So quitting while you're ahead, again, I always learned from some of the best business coaches I've known is the first thing you do is you tell everyone basically, if this isn't for you, quit. And why? Because it's a hard world out there, and you can lose your entire everything in entrepreneurship. But you can also gain your entire freedom. I love entrepreneurship. I heavily endorse it, but I also always know that the thing that happens with people is they sometimes get convinced by other people to do things they don't really like, and then through enablement and all different things, for not wanting to fail, blah blah blah, they end up stuck in the business. Well, guess what, guys? This year you got a gift. COVID-19. COVID-19 gives you the option to say, you know what, guys, my business did not survive because of COVID-19. I can hang my hat up, I can walk away, and nobody's mad at me. I know you might say, geez, that sounds funny, but some people don't have the fortitude, intestinal fortitude to say to their friends and families, hey, I didn't do too well. So this gives you an opportunity if you needed one. But again, if you aren't, you want to push forward. And I imagine all of you here, you're just like myself. That's why you're here. You wouldn't be taking this class if you were an entrepreneur, if you didn't care about yourself. So I can see that you guys are just looking for the next slides, but always go over this at the beginning. And then could I sell the business? So could I sell this business? This is an important one, especially, good time to talk with coaches, good time to talk with consultants, business salespeople as well. A lot of people believe their business is worth a lot more money than it is. Sometimes it's depressing and sad what it's worth, and other times it's shockingly high. Depends on how your business is structured. But learning this early, working with consultants can teach you how to create value that's saleable. Value that is saleable is very important. Unfortunately, for a lot of businesses, they're growing, 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 but an unsaleable value. And when they go to sell, sometimes it isn't exactly what they thought of. So starting from the beginning, thinking about the end goal and making sure you know where you're going, that's going to help you out big time. All right, so number 5, book recommendations. If you're not sure what your next step is, I highly recommend reading this book. So the E-Myth. The E-Myth is talking all about the entrepreneurial myth. It's talking about the idea that not everyone is an entrepreneur. Not every single person is going to, work on their own business. But what happens is, say you have a friend and they're really good at cutting hair. So they cut hair all the time. Next thing you know, people are telling them, you cut so much hair so well, why don't you open a salon? So the person opened the salon, first 2 months go great, right? Because everyone comes in, hey, I know you, Peggy, oh, I'm here. And then it starts to trickle down and nothing new happens. And this whole thing just starts to erode. And soon enough, what was a passion is now having to get out of bed, is now having to drive to the salon, is now hoping that people show up, is now all the excitement gone, and people going on vacations all around this person and them not being able to because they have their business. So what it is, it's really going about and talking about the all hats and the fact that just because you're good at something doesn't mean it. And maybe sometimes you should be employed versus working for yourself. But also, if you aren't, then how to work on the business versus in the business. But you can see it says why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. It's a great book, guys. I have on my website, if you look down here at the bottom, there's a link, ShawnPatrickMoloney.com/book recommendations. Or if you just go to ShawnPatrickMoloney.com, up top in the link, you find book recommendations. This should be under business, but there are lots of different book recommendations up there, all different ones about different things, spirituality, business, lots of different system stuff that I like to read. I will be honest with you, if you're looking for storybooks, probably the wrong book recommendation place. All right, number 6, reading and business. So I'm going to go over a couple keywords and things here. I'm going to go over them all, and then I'm going to go back and touch base on each one. So autodidactism. You are what you eat. The information age. Podcasts, blogs, and webinars. Audiobooks. Make it a priority. So autodidactism. Autodidactism is when someone loves learning, but they hate formalized education. So typically a lot of entrepreneurs, we did really bad in school. We got in trouble often as far as not like big crime trouble, but just fidgety, moving around, not wanting to listen to people, failing to follow structure, being creative, everything evil in the world of, having your own personal thought. We don't fit in well with society because we think differently and we want to change things, and we think, what if? And they think, hey, it's either A or B. And we're like, what if A and B equaled C? I don't know. I'm not sure. So that autodidactism in people is what usually is the driver in them being a self-study, a self-learner. and continuing to learn at a high level. You are what you eat. So what you consume is going to be in you. I always love to talk about it. My grandmother, growing up as a kid, she used to say to me, you're going to watch the Idiot Box. That was what she called the television. I always wondered why she called it that. And she said, if you sit there long enough, they'll teach you how to be an idiot. She said, that machine was put there just to take over people. And back in the day, you got your granny, she's sitting there in the chair and just hanging out. And I'm like, this lady watches TV all day long. I don't know what she's talking about, right? But the truth is, she got to watch it from the time where TV wasn't exactly a big thing to where TV took over people's lives. And she was dead right on. If she was alive today, she'd say, hey, I told you so. This is what happens when people take in everything they consume. So you want to make sure you're consuming good stuff, surrounding yourself with good people. I'm not one of those entrepreneur people that are like defriend all your friends and things like that. No, but I would say make sure you spend more time with people that are doing what you want to do and where you want to be so that you can figure out how they got there, and make sure you're putting in good content. I'm not saying that all day has to be just solid content. You can enjoy, watch the movies and stuff. But if you find yourself watching 2 and 3 hours of TV at night and you're stagnating in your job, career, entrepreneurship, then you've got to take advantage of what you have, which is the information age. There's more information available at our fingertips than ever before. So to say that you don't have the resources you need is just honestly an enablement of your own body and allowing yourself to fail, because you really need to take on more in this information age, and you need to be smart now. It's unfortunately you have to study. So if you don't like learning because you went to school, realize that no longer does someone just give you a little gold star. They give you a gold coin. They give you money. So the more you know, the more you grow, and the more you learn, the more you earn. However you want to say it, if you want to learn podcasts, blogs, webinars, well, they never were available. Like right now, you're listening to me for absolutely free, and you're getting information that I spend $500 an hour at different times, sometimes even more than that, $1,000 an hour. Spend $5,000 on just a ticket for one event alone. And I am giving you all that information I learned here for free. That never existed back in the day in the world, right? You had to have the money to buy the books, to buy the education, to pay the tutor, to whatever. Now you can go on this podcast, blog, webinar thing any time of day you want. You can type any subject in, and you can go to the best authors in the world, the smartest people. You literally can listen in, and I'm not going to say they're the smartest people in the world, but Steve Jobs has one. The presidents have one. Foreign dictators have them. I mean, literally everybody from the most famous artists to snowboarders to whatever. There is people putting content in little classes and how to do things. And the world is growing at a faster pace than ever. It's great because the freedom of information is the freedom of people. As we continue to free information up, that's going to free people up. So audiobooks, another great one. Why? Because we always travel in the car. We always do sports. We always do the gym. We do things like that. And for some reason, we need to listen to things. Guys, instead of getting motivated by Jay-Z singing about how cool he is, why not listen to an ebook and think about how much of a badass you are? Think about how tough you are. Think about how good you're going to do. And think about it in a positive manner. Like when you're lifting those weights, think about it like you lifting satchels of cash that you just made because you're listening to audiobooks and you're not listening to Jay-Z talk about how many women he has, how big of a boat he has, and how little you have, because you actually have now. So take that and make it a priority. So that's what I've been saying the whole time during this slide. It's like you got to turn your priorities towards what should be prioritized, right? You can't say, oh, everyone else this, oh, everyone else that. Bullshit. This is America. If you're not doing something, it's your own fault. And a little side note, I got my slides put together by Carl, and I noticed on the bottom left here, and this for some reason reminds me of like the Biden, Harris, and communism slide. The colors in the bottom left corner. So I apologize for that. I'm totally a capitalist. So just real quick side note there. 7, the great shift. So this is something I really wanted to talk about today. So after taking in all this information that we've talked about so far today, I really want you to work on the great shift. And what is that? It's the changing of mindset to becoming from an entrepreneur. If you've read any Robert Kiyosaki books, which Rich Dad Poor Dad always gets a lot of perks on the news and all that, but cash flow quadrants or any of those ones, he talks about, you have your S quadrant, your E quadrant, your B quadrant, your I quadrant. So your S is your self-employed, your E is your employee, your I is your investor, and your B is your business person. Business persons in his book, by definition, were 500 people or more, but I will argue that with him nowadays just because we have tiny little companies, 4 or 5 people making billions of dollars. So big business, small business is shifted. I know by term of definition for government there is one, but overall, basically the E In the S quadrant, yeah, no, the E in the S quadrant, the employee and the self-employed. So the employee in the self-employed category are the people who just have a job business. They're not the people who have regular businesses. And then the B's and the I's are business people and investors who make their money work for them. So I want you guys to awaken, first off, just to the idea, then awareness that you maybe don't have what you thought, or maybe you need to change something, and then studying, learning from all this different information, which we're going to go over in the class, as well as you can do self-paced planning, making sure you understand what you're doing before you're doing it, implementing, which means starting to put the process in place, duplicating, which means going through your whole entire business and making new processes for everything, and then growth, which is part of growing the business, actual growth that comes from doing all this. All right, next slide up. Leverage. So leverage is something that is the name of the game. The sooner you understand leverage, the sooner you can have meteoric growth. When growing a business, understanding key terms like OPM and OPT will get you amazing results. So key entrepreneurial terms. So I would highly recommend, if you are taking notes, write these all down. If you're not taking notes, you're just going to watch it again in the future. Don't worry, it's on record. It's there forever. But these are words you should know. So leverage. Leverage is just like a wrench. The longer it gets, the more we can pull. Leverage is in all sorts of things. Leverage is in credit, leveraging work, leveraging all sorts of things. So the idea of using gained leverage is how we're going to grow a business faster. Okay, so OPM. OPM is one type of leverage. What does OPM stand for? Anyone knows, throw it in the comments, but it stands for other people's money. So this is one of the key things of business, learning how to work with other people's money. That other people might be bank, that other people might be credit card, they might be private lenders, private loans, personal loans, all different things, but learning how to take credit and actually use it to the idea of what's going on. So the next one we have is OPT. Now, everyone always talks about OPM. If anyone knows what OPT is, feel free to throw it in there. But everyone talks about OPM, which is other people's money, but often OPT is actually looked over, yet so many of us use it in business without even realizing. And the sooner you actually realize what it is, the sooner you can realize how to do better with it, which stands for other people's time. So other people's time, right? That's employees, right? That's hiring contractors. That's all the different things we can do to be more efficient. And then ROI. So earlier in the thing, I talked about, if you say marketing costs me money, you are an employee of a job, because you need to understand return on investment. You should never turn down marketing, because it should be paying you back more than you give it. If your marketing is costing you money, like you see it as a budgetary expense and you don't see it as a profit item, like that gives you a return on investment, you need to do something different. We dropped an A on number 5. It was supposed to be EBITDA with an A on the end of it, which stands for earnings before interest, depreciation, and oh man, I lost my train of thought there. I'm going to update that one after though. Okay, and then net income. Net income is how much money is left after we pay our stuff, versus gross income is the total money in. So oftentimes I meet entrepreneurs and like, I make $500,000 a year, and you're like, you mean you have $500,000 in gross income? No, I make $500,000. Well, then you don't seem to match what you say you make. So net income versus gross income, understanding what they are. And now I'm at EBITDA. I don't know what I did. All right, I'm sorry about this. EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and appreciation. So this one here, guys, the EBITDA one, it's really important when you're going to value a business and figure out how much it's actually worth on the public marketplace. So a lot of times that one, which again, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, that one there is going to help you understand. A lot of times there's an X number of multiple that you can use to value your business. KPI, which is key point indicators, which key point indicators are the most important things in our business to be watching. What, maybe it be inventory prices, it could be food pricing, it could be whatever, but knowing how to do that. And then balance sheet, which balance sheet is where we get to see what the company has for money in different accounts and how much they owe, how much they have, and it's a good financial statement. So understanding your financial statements is big. So number 5, I have no idea what I did there. Sorry about that, but we'll just say financial statements. You should understand them all. All right. Slide 9, closing statement. So just going to finish it off here. While building a business may seem complex and overwhelming, people like you understand that coaches will help. By starting this program, you've already taken the most important step, which is starting. If you follow along with this step-by-step business building workshop, you too will find massive success. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube and ask any questions that may come up with. I look forward to seeing you at the top. Guys, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube for me. That really helps. If you can put on notifications, like the videos, that's great. Check out all my other stuff. I give away a ton. I don't usually charge much. When I work with companies, it is expensive a little bit, maybe, but I can tell you that, it goes back to ROI and return on investment, and I can really help you. So if you really want help to grow your business, reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to do that with you. Here is the month ahead. So we did What is Business last week. Remember, they're all available on YouTube channel after. So we have What is Business. We just did Do I Have Business or a Job? Next is Do I Understand Delegating Taxes? Taxes, tasks, which that's going to be a really exciting one. I think this is an important module overall, but that schedule is up on my website as other places, and all the classes are listed on the YouTube. They're all up there after as well. Our two podcasts here, Real Facts on Real Estate and Home Ownership, homeowners, buyers, sellers on home ownership, and real estate industry professionals on Real Facts. Both of them are about to hit episode 100. Both of them have multiple thousands of listens. Both of them really great. Next up, listen, learn, follow me, grow with me. So here's all the different links for all my different companies. I'm going to hold it up there for a sec in case anyone wants to grab a screenshot, take a picture. But again, these are all available on recording. So SPM, that's my personal brand. That's everything about me as an entrepreneur. Movementum, my real estate brokerage, growing all over South Shore. Actually working on the paperwork right here for going into the state of Rhode Island. Just got back one other confirmation today for that. Thoth Company. Thoth is the Egyptian god of knowledge. That's why I chose the name of the company. And he is alluded to be everyone from Jesus Christ to Hermes. And he always brings down knowledge to people. So I love to give knowledge away, and I love to help people learn. So check out Thoth stuff. And the last but not least, everybody have a great afternoon. Reach out to me. Feel free. Here's my contact info. My email is Shawn at ShawnPatrickMoloney.com. Love to help out. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if anybody has any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll make sure to get back to them. If you haven't yet, pound that subscribe button. Make sure to like us on Facebook. Make sure to follow all the different things I do. I guarantee you I'm going to give you tons of free value. I look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you so much.